analysis cannot guarantee causality. Content analysis is the surface meaning of the subject. So that is one of the methodological gap that George Gardner in 1960s did. So there are many criticisms to George Gardner methodology, but that is one of the aspect of methodological gap, or methodology can be attacked from the quantitative aspect of research. So the historical evolution of three approaches. Quantitative approach dominates the social science research from late 19th century and up until the mid 20th century. Interest in qualitative approach increased during the latter half of the 20th century, and along with it, the development of mixed method approach. And that is the evolution or the etymology of the evolution of three approaches. Now, the brief overview of three approaches. Qualitative approach. Qualitative research is an approach for exploring and understanding the meaning individual groups ascribe to a social or human problem. The research process involves emerging questions, data typically collected from participant setting, that means the natural setting, data analysis inductively building from particular to general themes, researchers making interpretations of the meaning of the data. The final report has a flexible structure. Here it is flexibility is there. Many people, those who favor qualitative schools of thought, they think that qualitative research is a very comfortable kind of doing research, because it provides you flexibility to do research. But in quantitative structure, there is no such flexibility. You have to design the hypothesis, and you have to test the hypothesis. Either you have to accept the hypothesis, or you have to reject the null hypothesis. So there is no fixed structure in quantitative research, but in qualitative approach, it is very flexible. In quantitative, it is fixed, but in qualitative research, it is quite flexible. Sample sizes are sometimes too small to allow a researcher, sometimes as small as one, to generalize the data beyond the sample selected for the particular study. For this reason, qualitative method is often preliminary step to further investigation rather than final phase of a project. We generally go for qualitative research so that it can lay the foundation. And depending on the qualitative findings, we can further formulate the research problem in a better way. So the information collected from the qualitative method is often used to prepare to a more elaborate quantitative analysis. Data reliability can also be a problem, since single observers are describing unique events. Because a person conducting qualitative research must become closely involved with the respondents, it is possible to lose objectivity when collecting data. A researcher who becomes too close to the study may lose the necessary professional detachment. To explain this particular aspect, how actually researcher lose the objectivity or lose his professional detachment, there is a particular research method called participant observation. What happens to participant observation? What is the role of researcher? Here researcher has to play dual role. One is an observer, another is a participant. So whenever he is observing a particular group, the group may be a group of students, maybe 10-15 people. So researcher has a dual role. One is observer, second is participant. So when he is fulfilling the role of observer, then he may forget that he is a participant. That is one of the major demerits of participant observation. And whenever he becomes the participant in a group, participating the group as a participant, then there is every possibility that he may lose the objectivity. What are the objectives of research? Because he may too much aligned with the research, with the group people, with the group behavior. So there is a trade-off between. In one way, he has to maintain the objectivity. In another way, he has to participate. So that is one of the major challenges of participant observation research. Quantitative approach and overview. It tests objective theories by examining the relationship among variables. These variables in turn can be measured on instruments so that numbered data can be analyzed using statistical procedures. If it is quantitative, then we have to apply certain statistical test. So statistical state, we cannot select statistical test whimsically. There is a certain parameters to select the statistical test. So statistical test generally divided into two groups. One is parametric test and another is non-parametric test. So under non-parametric test, there are certain tests: chi-square, Kramer's V, Kendall-Tau-B, and in parametric test there are certain tests like t-test, ANOVA, correlation, regression, and all those multivariate techniques. So in quantitative research, we always try to establish a relationship between quantitative variables and solutions to problems. Instead of focusing on methods, researchers emphasize the research problem and use all approaches available to understand the problem. From a philosophical standpoint, attention on the research problem in social science research, and then using pluralistic approaches to derive knowledge about the problem. Pragmatism is not committed to any one system of philosophy and reality. This applies to mixed methods research, in that inquirers draw liberally from both quantitative and qualitative assumptions when they engage in their research. Individual researchers have a freedom of choice. In this way, researchers are free to choose the methods, techniques, and procedures of research that best meet their needs and purposes. Pragmatists do not see the world as an absolute